Okay. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Sagarino, start with the appointment with the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Brown is here with some appointments in the...
Okay, there he is. I just had to go and make sure the AC was working for Chief. We're all set.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight for 3 appointments as full-time police officers for the department. The process to hire began back in March and April of this past year. We anticipated at the time 6 openings, but now we're looking at upwards of 8. We had 65 viable candidates come through the process. We have 3 before you tonight, and we're hoping that 4 more will be coming before the board in August. They are currently in the conditional offer phase. So tonight, I'd like to introduce to you first Peter Eldridge. Officer Eldridge, come on up. Peter is the son of Heather and Sean Eldridge. He currently is a resident of Nashua, New Hampshire. He's been a full-time police officer with the Townsend Police Department since July of 2022, assigned to their midnight shift. Through that time in a smaller agency, he's gained valuable experience in investigations. He's already drafted search warrants for criminal cases for homes, cell service location information, and cell phone data, which in a department like Burlington you don't see for the first couple of years. He's a certified car seat safety technician. He attended the Boylston Police Academy from July through December of 2022. Prior to the police academy, he was an intern with the Acton Police. He's a graduate of the Groton-Dunstable Regional High School in 2018, where he played football and lacrosse. And he then went on to UMass Lowell. He received his Bachelor of Science in Criminology and Justice, magna cum laude, in 2022. With the town administrator's permission, I would like to ask for the appointment of Peter Eldridge as a full-time police officer for the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you, Chief. With the Chief's recommendation, I appoint Peter Eldridge to the as a patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against? 500. Congratulations. Congratulations. All the best.
Congratulations.
Take it. Sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Second officer up for appointment tonight is Ryan Shea. Ryan is the son of Karen and Robert. He's currently a resident of Belmont. Comes from a police family. His father is currently the chief at LaSalle University and had a long career with the Concord Police Department, as well as an uncle over in Belmont. Anybody I'm missing? He's been a full-time police officer with the Belmont Police Department since January of 2023. In his short time with Belmont, he's gained valuable experience and additional training, which will help him with Burlington. He's had motor vehicle crimes, drug investigations, preparing search warrants, which certainly will help him as he comes back over to Burlington. He will begin the FTO program this week. He attended the Linfield Police Academy from August 22 through January 23. We had plenty of Burlington police instructors and staff that were working at the academy at the time, and Ryan came as highly recommended even at that time before deciding to go to Belmont originally. He's a graduate of the Belmont High School, class of 2019, and then Merrimack College, where he received his bachelor's in criminal justice with a minor in psychology in 2023, and he is currently enrolled in the master's program at LaSalle University. This time, I would respectfully request the appointment of Ryan Shea to the position of police officer with the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you. And with the Chief's recommendation, I wish to appoint Ryan Shea as a patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Seconded.
So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 500 in favor. Congratulations. Chief?
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, we have Timothy Pinkham, son of Laura and David Pinkham. He is a Burlington resident. Tim is a certified Massachusetts police officer with the Massachusetts Post and the MPTC. He graduated from the Merrimack College Police Academy in April of 2024. I believe he's one of Select Board Member Tiggis's students.
Chief, all three of these were
All right.
students.
He excelled in the academy. He received 3 awards, the Health and Wellness Award, the Top Honor Award, and the Director's Award. At the time of the Police Academy graduation, he also received his Master's of Science in Criminology and Criminal Justice. He went to work as a Marine Patrol officer with the New Hampshire State Police Marine Patrol, serving part-time from December 2021 through the present. And I'm glad he's going to be out of the Weirs Beach area at this point. Prior to that, he was an intern for the Burlington Police Department, August 21 through December 21. He is also the recipient of the New Hampshire State Police Life Saving Award, which he was awarded in December 2023, and he is soon to receive the New Hampshire Congressional Law Enforcement Award, anticipated for the fall of 2024. I will say that in my time in the hiring, since I've been a lieutenant in 2013, there has been no other candidate where more people have come up to me at different points basically recommending him and also congratulating us for bringing Timmy on board. Not for political influence, not trying to interfere in the process, just really validating the type of character that Timmy brings to the department. So congratulations to him. With the town administrator's approval, I'd move to appoint Timothy Pinkham as a full-time Burlington police officer.
Thank you, Chief. With the chief's recommendation, I wish to appoint Timothy Pinkham as a patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Want to do one with the 3 of them with the board real quickly? Sorry to the fire chief and DPW.
With the board?
And then after the photo, we'll move it back to the police station for their swearing in. So if you can do one, we'd appreciate it.
You guys want to get in?
I think we can, that's,
Watch the lights.
yeah, it's not a great location. Tables.
What's the Walter doing around where?
Let's try. What is this?
That's what I said, it's not a great way to go, you're better off going out, come back in.
Yeah, you're good.
Paul, does he have any more for the police?
No, that's it for the police.
So, Chief, before you leave.
Yes, sir.
I have to say this. Another great showing tonight with your department here. 3 wonderful new police officers in town. I don't know how you do it, but you get the most qualified people. When I read their resumes online, I don't know how you do it. You get the best qualified people that we could ever ask for as a town. And I'm sure these 3 gentlemen that just got put on tonight are going to do a fabulous job, just like the group in the back that's over here now. You have guys that show up that some of them are working, some of them aren't working. And Chief, I want to commend you for that, because I've always said this a million times. It starts with you, starts at the top and works its way down. So congratulations on another great group. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much, and I would like to tell you our secret, but I can't reveal it in public. We'll just keep it going.
Mr. Rufo's watching right now.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wait a second till the room gets a little bit quieter. Okay. Appointments, Fire Department. Chief?
Good evening. I only have one appointment for tonight, request. Tonight, I'm recommending Mr. Ryan DeCoste for appointment to the position of firefighter paramedic. We've done all the background checks, all the physicals, all the psychological tests. He was recommended to move on, and Mr. DeCoste is currently employed at a private ambulance company as a paramedic. He became an EMT 2 years ago, a paramedic a year ago. Prior to being an EMT, he's worked as a supervisor in the energy utility field for 14 years. And he changed his career path, and he wanted to become a firefighter. He holds his national paramedic, advanced cardiac life support, pediatric advanced life support, and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. I'm pleased to recommend Mr. Ryan DeCoste for appointment to the position of firefighter paramedic, effective July 22nd, 2024.
Thank you, Chief. With the Chief's recommendation, I wish to appoint Ryan DeCoste to the position of firefighter paramedic in the Burlington Fire Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500 in favor. Is he here? Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Chief, that's the only one?
That's the only one?
Would you like to get a picture with his kids up front with you?
Sure.
His wife? Come on up. Thank you, Wayne.
I can do the phone too if you want. No, I wasn't sure. I can do yours. I can do yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
So what are we going to go to next? We're going to go over DPW and go right to conservation?
DPW is up next.
Oh, DPW is up next, sorry.
Good evening, Board. I'm joined by Anthony DeSimone, our Operations Manager, with the recommendation for a special motor equipment operator in our cemetery division.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. Chair. After conducting interviews with applicants for the special motor heavy equipment operator position, I'm recommending John Arvanitis for this position, contingent on passing DOT physicals and other pre-employment requirements. Mr. Arvanitis has worked for the town of Wilmington for 6 years as a custodian. He has experience operating skid steer loaders, as well as front-end loaders and backhoes. John's skills include landscaping and excavation, and he has experience with leaf cleanup, lawn mowing, and weed whacking. John graduated from Wilmington High School and has acquired his permit for his Class B commercial driver's license. He also holds the 2A, 4E, and 4G hoisting licenses. I believe John's experience and skills make him an excellent addition to our Buildings and Cemeteries Division. His recommended start date, contingent on pre-employment requirements, is August 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With Brian Anthony's recommendation, I wish to appoint John Arvanitis to the position of Special Motor Equipment Operator in the Cemetery Division of the Burlington Department of Public Works and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against? 500. Congratulations, John. Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome.
Thanks, Brian. Anthony, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, conservation. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Good to be back again so quickly. So I would like to recommend the appointment of Lucy Hanson. This is Lucy. She has degrees in geosciences, a BA from Smith College, and a Master of Science from the University of Amherst. During her academic tenure, she worked as a research assistant in the Coastal and Sediment Dynamics Lab, during which time she got a lot of experience, field experience with salt marshes. She evaluated sediment cores. She used GIS to also evaluate sediment accumulation. So she has a lot of really good field experience and lab experience. She also has 3 years experience as a teaching assistant, and she also gained valuable customer service skills during her non-academic work experience. So we think she's going to be an awesome contribution to the department.
Thank you very much, Eileen. And with Eileen's recommendation, I wish to appoint Lucy Hanson to the position of Assistant Conservation Administrator and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, opposed? 500. Congratulations. Quite the resume.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
you just made a comment, quite the resume. And when you look at the quality of the employees we brought on tonight, police, fire, conservation, DPW, how do we do this all the time? How do we end up with the best of the best? Like Chief Brown said, we'll keep it a secret, but we're very, very fortunate to have such great employees and continue to hire great employees. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, she did have a very impressive resume.
Yeah.
Okay, town clerk, approval. We're going to skip over that, right? We're going to go to
Push that towards the
Yep.
end.
proclamation for Parks and Recreation Appreciation Week. Does anybody have that?
You might need to skip him too. He's at his own meeting.
So,
Coming over.
We're running a little bit faster than Lynn
Yeah.
guessed.
let's just do subcommittee reports and then call it a night.
So maybe
Okay.
Marge.
So we're going to wait for the recreation exercise class, then I'm assuming,
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
And the senior
Yes.
workout program also?
Marge is here for that, so we can do that one.
Okay. Hi, Marge.
Hello.
There you go. Floor's all yours, Marge.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul.
So we are requesting that we increase the maximum amount allowed for the folks who are over 60 who do the tax work-off program. We'd like to increase it from $1,500 to $2,000 per year,
Okay.
which would also increase the total number of hours that they would work from 100 to 133.
Hey, Marge, could you just give the board a little bit of an overview of this program? We don't get to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this program is for our residents who are over 60, who qualify by, I think it's $55,000 a year for a couple, and I think it's $44,000 for a single individual, to work to get money off of their property taxes. So they work for the town, we place them in different departments, and they get money off their taxes. pretty simple.
So a person petitions, and then the town has various positions available for these folks to work. They work the certain amount of hours. What's changed is that recently the governor made a change to the program at the state level to allow us to provide a bigger benefit of $2,000. I think it's up from
Yeah.
$1,500.
Correct.
So for people that qualify for this program, I think we have about 7 or 8 people that participate on
Yeah.
an annual basis, so it's not widely used, and many of the state guidelines are really difficult for someone to qualify sometimes, depending upon the income and assets. But it's a great program for anybody out there who wants to, donate a little bit of time working in. We try to make them very pleasant jobs. I think they work as greeters. I think they help out Amy with a lot of the election work with mailing ballots and things of that nature. But, we try to find a job that's suitable for a person of, all different types of people, depending upon what their skill set may be and what they're capable of doing. We'll find a position for them to, work some hours to reduce their taxes. So it's a really good program. And what this does is increases the limitation and increases the benefit to the seniors. So I would urge the board to support this.
So I'm going to ask a really quick question. So right now you say that there's like 7 or 8 people using it. How many can we actually put on?
We used to have, when I handed it over to Debbie Giardina to take over for me, when I handed it to her, we had 32 people doing it.
32?
32. But we haven't increased the income in forever. I think the entire time I've been working here. So if people, their incomes raise as incomes do, and a lot of people don't qualify that way. Also, a lot of people have put their houses in trusts. So once the house goes into trust and it's not in their name, they no longer qualify.
Is there a lot of qualifications that would keep, well, never mind. I was going to ask that. That's something. How do they get in touch with you for this program?
Just call the front, just call the main number, 270-1950, and ask to speak to Debbie.
Okay, great. Start with Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, anytime we get a chance to reduce taxes to some of our more, I don't want to say needy, but more residents that could benefit from a tax cut, I think it's a great idea. Is this under a state program? Or is...
Yeah, it has qualifications that the state sets.
So there's no way we could offer something locally, a town-sponsored incentive that would allow people to do something similar if they're not making those, or they're exceeding the income levels that you say they're on?
We can change the income levels ourselves.
Oh, we can?
We can.
So how could we make this beneficial to more residents by increasing this income? So
Whether that has to go before town meeting or just you, I don't know.
I think that's something we should look at, because that'll allow more residents
Yep.
benefit from this. So that's how I
I
think we
agree.
expand this. So I'd like to see if we can at least look, go that way or look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll expect a letter on your desk.
Sarah?
I had the same exact question. I was wondering who set that salary requirement, assuming it was the state, but you're saying we can actually set it
Yeah.
ourselves.
Debbie had checked with other towns, and it's all over the place. Some of them do check assets, which we don't do, and we'd like to keep it that way. So if we could raise the income without having to go, we just use their tax return. So if we could keep that, but increase their income, that would be great.
Yeah, so there are neighboring communities who also participate. It might be worth looking at what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah,
so they're all
and Debbie's
doing
got that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I'm fully in support of this and would be in support of looking into raising that salary
Okay,
requirement.
great.
Thank you.
Good. Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marge, it's always good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Thank you. First question, how is this funded?
It's funded from the overlay account. So the overlay is account that is raised by the town every year to provide refunds to taxpayers for various reasons. Some of them, there's various qualifications for abatements for this program, as well as what you would call an abatement that's based upon someone questions the value of their home and the assessors agree, or it gets determined that way, and then we have to provide a tax refund. It comes out of that fund of money.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And then Marge, how are we currently advertising the program?
We put it into the newsletter before we start taking applications. So the fall newsletter will have 1 or 2 months of it in there. So people should be looking for it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm also in favor of raising the income level, or adjusting the income level, taking a look at it, really. I mean, 133.5 work hours is like 16 days, so I mean, even if we had to add a couple more days, it wouldn't be the end of the world in terms of like over the course of a year qualifying. But no other questions. Thank you. Thanks, Marge.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in favor of raising it. I think it sounds like a cool program. I've never heard of it. Just out of curiosity, what kind of jobs do they help out with? What kind of jobs do they do?
So a lot of them are at the center, greeting people, helping with, get the Meals on Wheels ready to go out. We have somebody over at the police station who helps to do filing. We've had people at the library helping, put books back and check people out. We used to have people at the schools before COVID, helping in the classrooms and in their libraries.
Wow, cool. It sounds like a win-win. So
Yeah.
very cool. I think it's a great idea, and I'm in support of raising it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. On that note, do I have a motion for this?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the updates to the senior workout program.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Marge.
Thanks, Marge.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marge.
Okay, so we're going to go right along to the 4 one-day liquor license, Beer Garden. I believe that's Melissa. Surprised it's not John, but that's okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Melissa Tintopoulos, for the record, Economic Development Director, and I have a couple slides here, but the first request here before you is to have our Town Center Beer Garden return this September for essentially kind of the same format as we've had 2 years ago. It would be the 4 Thursdays in September. The dates are listed there. 4:30 to 8:30. Just like last time, we will work with DPW to close Moran Street. It's located right there at 202 Cambridge. And just for those of you who might be watching, the Town Center Beer Garden kind of is rooted in organizing different initiatives, we call them placemaking initiatives, to really kind of rethink how we see public spaces and the spaces that we love, so that we can kind of interact in these spaces and kind of envision some new form into the future. So that's kind of how we started some of these placemaking initiatives. Some of it is by art. We've worked with the murals to bring in the murals, the Town Center Pocket Park, and then the Beer Garden has been kind of a successful annual event now. On average, it brings in about 500 people each Thursday, so that's almost 2,000 people that kind of are new visits to the Town Center. And so tonight, with this item, we're seeking approval of bringing this back.
I'm all in. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this has quickly become one of the most popular events that we do as a town. I always get people asking, when are we doing the beer gardens again? When are they happening? It's a great activity for the town, and I'm just a big fan of placemaking and all the cool things that we've done so far, so full support of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I support this. I love how focused and simple it is. I like how it is working, which is obviously a marker of success and what we hope to see. I like that it doesn't just bring people to the area we want them to be, but it's building community. which is great. I love what you're doing in that area, right? I think the Pocket Park itself is great and is being utilized beyond the beer garden. I just hear people, stopping by and having a coffee or grabbing lunch and just sitting there, or, walking over with their kids. And, I mean, it's nice to see this being utilized. And the mural looks absolutely fantastic. Like, just a very, very cool piece of art, kind of capturing the essence of Burlington, which I think is great. So, I'm gonna stop talking. Thank you for everything you're doing. I support this 100%.
Sarah?
Thank you. And thank you, Melissa, again, for putting this on. I know how much work it is, even though Nick called it simple. I don't think it is. I think there are actually a lot of moving parts. It's a great event, though. I love it. Is this the third year we're doing it, or is this...
Well, technically, it's the fourth, but it's the third time we're doing it in the Thursday format. So our first year, we piloted it for one day on a Saturday. And what we were trying to do was bring in the foot traffic. So what we thought would be a different kind of, I guess, format to roll it out with was bringing it every day for 1 month. So you had more opportunities, I would say, to come down to the center. And that was also received with input from the business community. So we have reached out to the businesses, the small businesses throughout Town Center. We have an email distribution. We invite them also to have a table to, just we're kind of creating the stage for them to showcase, their business, whether it's, creatively for them through coupons or promotional material. It gives them an opportunity to do that as well. So that's kind of how it's evolved, I guess.
Great. And have there been any issues or like learning opportunities, stumbling blocks that you've kind of...
I think we've, it's grown in, popularity and the interest from the community. I think the thing that we've struggled with more so than anything is kind of the location. So it works there well because it has the complementary uses for the pizza, schoolhouse ice cream, and some of those uses that work well. And we've had a lot of requests to move it to maybe the Common or different locations. And I think that's the one thing that maybe, we've talked about, kind of years under, or kind of post beer garden on how it's went, if that's something we want to do. And so maybe, if the select board really, has thoughts on that and wants to share that afterwards, that would be great. But I think that's one thing that has come up.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. It's the few that I've been to have been quite crowded, which is a good thing. You want a lot of people. But it's also, how can we better use that space, or is there another space? But I agree, where it is great because it's bringing people to those spaces and those stores. And, we always hit up the schoolhouse, have to. But thank you for everything you're doing. I fully support this. That's all.
Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melissa, this has been a huge success, a huge hit around town. Every time I've gone, I'm very fortunate to have it within walking distance of my house, so it's great for me. But, and I like how you have the restaurants that are in that area, and also bringing the ones that aren't in that area. Remember when we had Viet Citron down there, people were asking me, where are they? We expose another business to the residents, which they I'm sure went to after, because their food is phenomenal as well. But it looks great. That new mural really, really looks good. I saw people stopping by telling the artist that looks great. This is a shot in the dark. As we're sitting here, came up with this idea. Burlington has some very famous people, former residents, on that mural. I think it's a great idea if we try to invite them to this.
Unveiling.
They may not come, but at least invite those that are now memorialized in the Burlington mural to check it out.
A grand unveiling.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if we could get them. Again, shot in the dark, off the top of my head idea, but I think it'd be awesome to get someone on that wall in person. But it's a great idea. And the other thing I was thinking about, I know it won't be this year, is the studio on wheels that we had just did. Get that down there and maybe do some sort of event with that. Is that a good term, studio on wheels, or should I call it something else?
The micro gallery.
You got it. That's the one.
So the micro gallery, another kind of installation, placemaking concept, that is moving along. We're getting some more research and answers, so we'll be back. Unfortunately, it might not work in terms of the timing for this beer garden to have it there, but we probably will be in front of you in September for that one.
I think the technical term was art on a cart, you told me?
Art on the cart. There's a lot of
Very Seussian.
I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
I have one question. Can we bring our dogs again? Can we bring our dogs again? Last year, there were a bunch
Yes.
of dogs down there, everyone loved them, so there was no incidents with any pets whatsoever that I saw of the nights that I was down there, so just making sure that we can bring our little fur buddies with us.
So we talked to the Board of Health about that, well, the year before. We haven't talked to them specifically this year, but there is a way to have that, and we made sure through the Board of Health that was good.
Okay? If there is, there is. If there isn't, just thought I'd ask. On that note, do I have a motion for this?
Make a,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve 4 one-day liquor licenses for the beer garden on September 5th, 12th, 19th, 20th, and 26th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed, against? 500. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Thank you.
I see, you
I think I have one more item.
have one more?
I think so.
The zoning.
Which one's yours?
Yeah.
156, a zoning article?
Yeah.
Okay, while you're there, go ahead.
So
I saw
this
Brendan
item-
come in, that's
yeah.
what messed me up. Go ahead. That's okay, Melissa.
Thank you, Chairman Randy. This item is really to provide the Select Board an update on the upcoming articles proposed by the Economic Development Office. And there are 2 items for town meeting in September. The one is pretty straightforward. We're calling it, refining the definition. If you recall, a few years back, we introduced a concept of experiential uses, and that was really to share, kind of add to our zoning bylaw a use that we had been seeing as a pattern coming up as retail has been changing. The concept of interactive venues or bringing people in for, quote, something to do has become more popular. So we introduced the use called experiential retail and commercial interactive venues. And what this article is to refine that definition, and I'll show you in the next slide. But the second one that you'll be hearing about is a temporary sign bylaw. Currently, under the zoning bylaw and the general bylaw, temporary signs, unless they're very specific to, renting or selling a commercial property, are not allowed. So our building inspector and myself worked to create a draft of a temporary sign bylaw, and I'll explain that a little bit more as well. So the first one you'll be seeing that would go to town meeting is here, and it's a slight change. It seems quite simple when you look at it on screen, but what had occurred when we submitted it was that the experiential use, the way it was written, could only be permitted by the definition if it was in combination with fast food. So what we've done is remove the only, so there are more options. So it can come before a planning board for a special permit, if it does not have a food associated with it. It's really kind of the legal definition that we want to be more specific with. And then in here, we called out bowling, but we wanted to keep it general to say not just bowling, but we wanted to say sports-oriented activities that could be a part of the experiential use. And a lot of people are seeing that in different venues. Maybe it's pickleball, maybe it's, axe throwing, which is probably already out of trend, but there are different things that come up that are just kind of activities and sport-like, and so that's what we wanted to allow for a little bit more generalization. I don't know if there's any questions on, maybe on that one before we go to the next one.
We'll just, I think we'll do all the questions at the end.
At the end? Okay. And so the second one is a temporary sign bylaw, and this came out of a few different originations. So as you know, our economic development strategy has been kind of looking at short, midterm, and long-term initiatives. And the long-term initiatives we've talked a lot about with the mixed-use zoning, but those take time. We're looking at 20 years. We're looking at slow, evolution of our commercial district. Our short-term things are very much around, what we just talked about in terms of placemaking, and we're doing the beer garden, the murals, really things that people can see and hopefully feel like there's some change going on. This is kind of along those lines between a short-term and mid-term action that we're looking to do, is when we had input from the Chamber of Commerce, it was a few months back, they were looking at how Burlington could support some of the local businesses more. And, a lot of talk revolved around the zoning and allowing for some housing in the commercial district. But then there was also some conversation around, things like, our zoning policy and how it could be a little more friendly. So we went back to some of our older analysis, and in our rapid recovery plan from back 2021, one thing was about, hey, update your sign bylaw. And that's where we've been working with Betsy and Sherry and those guys from the ZBRC who've been a part of the sign bylaw. So they're really looking at diving in and doing a deep dive for permanent signs. But what we were finding was that the issue about short-term signs, if you wanted to put out a sign for, a holiday special or, one-time sale, grand opening, those are what we didn't have any pathway for. So what we did, and also our elected officials, State Rep Gordon had talked to me about, maybe a recommendation for allowing, even a temporary sign to say, hi, I have my, pop-up coffee hour, and he wasn't able to communicate that, and he thought it would allow for more civic engagement as well. So with that, worked with the Inspector of Buildings to create a draft, and if you could go to the next slide, in your packet is what you'll see is a draft language for a temporary sign program. And from the economic development perspective, we see it supporting local businesses, increases visibility, allows for more creativity and a little more flexibility within our zoning and general bylaw. So that is what's before you. We still, I would like to add, are in the process of maybe working, not maybe, but we are working with the different, I would say, stakeholder groups. We're going to planning board to possibly refine the language. So it is still a work in progress, but I wanted to share that with, the board is where we are today.
Okay, thank you. Mike, start with you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I love the idea of broadening the experimental retail uses. I was in Canton like a few weeks ago and saw the Topgolf. Like something like that would be amazing, and it's huge, but I don't know if we have the space for it. But I love kind of broadening, like axe throwing or whatever, or the museum you showed us. So I'm in favor of all that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the only question I really have is on the issuance of temporary sign permits. It says shall be valid for a maximum of 14 calendar days from the date of issuance. To me, there might be a little lag time when someone gets the approval, and then once they get the okay, then they have to go get the sign made, and they may not have the sign ready, not knowing if they're going to get that approval. So I don't know if the 14 days from the date of issuance is the best, maybe just 14 days maximum. Because they may not apply or try to purchase the sign until they get the approval. Is that making sense?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good point. I could look into that a little closer, but I think in terms of the approval that you receive and then the time window to create or like fabricate a sign, you might need more time. Is
Right.
that- Yeah.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Sarah?
Thanks. I don't really have any questions, Melissa. Thank you for looking into this. I think anything we can do within reason to help support our local businesses and make it easier for them to do business in Burlington, we should be doing. And this is something small, but it's a big deal, so I think we should be making these steps, working with that language and pushing this forward, so.
Thank you.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Melissa. My first question, I know you were working with Mark on this. I think you may have mentioned it, but ZBRC, ZBA, sign committee, they've all had a crack at this?
No, actually. So that's part of why it still remains a work in progress. So the language came out of conversation with the inspector of buildings and DCM, which is really a lot of the, the planning staff, and they're voicing a lot of the concerns from planning board. So that we do have in there, but what I think we need to do is incorporate a little bit more of where ZBRC would be, because they are currently in the process, as I mentioned, to look at permanent signs. So we want to make sure, it fits in with the overall strategy that they're approaching. So, yeah, that's, to be transparent, that's kind of where, where we are. And so if there's concern around, if a town meeting would see it, out of a time sequence, maybe they would like to see a permanent sign bylaw first. That would be the only concern that might, slow this down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much happening with signs right now.
Right.
Which, I feel like we've been talking about signs for a very, very long time. That I appreciate you taking some directive, tangential action, right? But I can see town meeting saying, well, geez, if we're a year away from more permanent sign, bylaw, why would we even bother with this right now? If that's not an issue, and I feel like when I was reading through this, it's like a can of worms, right? It's like once we kind of pop that lid, I have a lot more questions. Like roof signs, right, and projecting signs. I'm like, oh gosh, do we really want to get into this? Some of it I didn't have much of an issue with. And I'm also trying to stay in my lane a bit here, because I appreciate what you're doing from a select board and economic development standpoint. I want to leave the zoning, to planning and ZBRC and, ZBA. But just some general concerns there that I can probably talk to you offline about. As far as the adjustment for experiential goes, is there a reason, and maybe I'm just not thinking of the big picture here, that it's solely sports focused and that it's not like a larger format experiential that might not be sports inclusive?
It's a good question, because I think part of it has come out from what we've heard from the commercial real estate, the tenanting folks, those people who are working to lease space, and that when we ran the language by them, and it seemed to fit. No one called out a different type of language.
Sure.
I think if that's something that we want to take a closer look at, I think that I'd welcome seeing if there's other models in terms of language on it.
The only thing that popped in my head was I know that right now in Ohio they're experiencing a huge kind of resurgence in their, like Columbus, for example, is going through a huge, growth change where they're creating these experiential, places that don't just do axe throwing, but they've got like a whole bunch of stuff going on. Right? And I didn't know if, from a bylaw language perspective, a place like that fit into the way you have it. If axe throwing was only a piece of like one offering of the overall, experience that they were creating. So I didn't want to pigeonhole us by saying, sports activities, could it be, I don't know what the wording would look like. I'm thinking on the fly, but it just popped in my head.
To be a little more inclusive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that back and look and see if the Ohio reference, is that something you could give me?
Yeah, I can see some stuff,
okay.
for sure. Yeah. But otherwise, thank you. This is great. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. My questions were asked, so I'm all set. Yes, Mr. Segarino.
Is there any more board members that need to speak, Mr. Chairman?
No.
Right. I just want to say the board will get a crack to take a formal vote if these do move forward to town meeting in the lead up to September.
Okay.
But we wanted to have Melissa here to introduce the concept, let you guys know that she was working on these things, and, you know, there's some details that need to be ironed out, but you may see it back. We're submitting it for the warrant. Whether or not it moves forward, we'll see. But in any event, the board will have an opportunity to take a formal vote before we get to town meeting.
Okay. So this was just a discussion and not the approval part?
Right.
Okay, fantastic. All right,
Okay.
we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So I see Amy's back in the room, so we have to go back to 151. Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate
Thank you.
your flexibility, trying to make sure we get police and fire sworn in tonight, so. So I had 4 items that I needed to get approval from you all on. The first one being the election workers. That's something we do every year. I have to submit it to you all. A list of currently current people who are interested in being election workers for the next next fiscal year. So these people will take us through the fall and into April as well. So we try to get, I do solicit names from the 2 town parties, but pretty much it's a similar list every year, so that's what I just need from you all.
What was the board's wishes here? There's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 items that she has to talk about. You want to vote them all at the same time, or do you want to discuss them, each one individually? They're the same things we do every year, but we do have a new member that might have not seen some of these. So you want to split them up, or you want to
I'm fine with taking them all at once.
take them all at once? Mr. Sagarino?
I think that works fine, as long as it works out.
Is that okay with you, Amy?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so just talk about all of them, and then if you have a question, we'll go back to that specific item and go back from there. All right?
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep. And then the second thing is, in the special acts of 2022, there was a section that kind of enlisted your involvement, which was that always in the past, I had worked with the chief of police or his designee to identify which police officers were going to be working at the polls as well. And with the climate that happened in 2022, the legislature felt that that was important to get the select board in on it. And so basically, I just need your approval to allow me to talk to the police chief or his designee, who happens to be Officer Outerbridge, on what officers we hire for details on the day of the election,
Okay,
days of the elections.
thank you.
Okay?
Early voting?
What?
No, go ahead.
Okay, and then the early voting, basically, just wanted to outline for you what we're going to be doing for early voting for the September election. The last day to register to vote is Saturday, August 24th. By law, because of the size of our town, we have to be open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we will also be running early voting on that day. If I have to have the office open, I might as well try to get as many people through as possible. And then the week prior to the election, the 26th through the 30th, we will just follow the standard business hours. One of the things through all the data that I've been collecting for the past 4 years, or actually 6 years since 2016, is that early in-person voting has really slowed down, and vote by mail has picked it up. We're currently doing about 60 to 75% of our early voting via mail. The other 25% is people actually coming in. So I don't feel that there's any reason to do any more than what the state requires. If somebody comes in prior to the 24th in person, they're going on vacation, they're going to be out of town, we also always have the option for them to do an absentee ballot, which works the same as the early voting ballots. It's just that there's another piece of paperwork that has to be done. But so nobody's going to be turned away if they come in and need to vote ahead of time. And then finally, I need to have you all sign the warrant for the primary, which is September 3rd, which is the first day of school. I'm working very closely with school, as always, to make sure that we try to eliminate as many hassles as possible. But the state sets that date, and so we have to go with it. But we will be running all the primary, the day of, will be down at the high school in the rubber gym, as always. So.
Fantastic. Okay. Nick?
Yeah, no questions from me. We take this up every election cycle. It looks fine by me, so.
Okay. Jim?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Sarah?
So this is just for the primary,
This is just for the September primary.
and you will have to come back with all of this again in November?
I will, no, I'll have to come back. It handles the first 2 items. The second 2, because I haven't set the dates or the times and everything for early voting, but by law, it's required to be 2 weeks prior to the election, which is November 5th. So it'll probably follow the same format. The warrant is not available yet because we don't know all the names that will be on the warrant because of the primary. So first we have to run the primary to get all the candidates that will be on the November ballot, yeah.
Got it, thank you.
So that's why it's got to be done
No, I know.
piecemeal. I try to do everything that I can all at once, but yeah.
Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions, but I believe the first day of school is Wednesday, the 28th of August.
No,
Oh, it is,
I've been told it's November 3rd, September 3rd. It isn't?
August 28th.
For the high school or for all schools?
Elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay, I will double check that then, but we always do crash into Labor Day anyway, so.
But either way, you'll be
There'll be
affecting
school
school
that
day.
day,
You'll be affecting
either
school
way.
day.
Oh, yeah, either way, there's school that day. The November election, we are able to, the school usually sets it up as an in-service day. So,
But no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. On that note,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve town clerk's list of election workers, approval of Special Act of 2022, Chapter 92, Section 72, the early voting and primary warrant as presented.
Seconded.
motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, now, we are going back over to the proclamation, 152.
Paying attention to that date this year. For the first time ever.
For Parks and Recreation. Brendan?
I think Lynn went to go get it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight. July is Parks and Recreation Month nationally, and I wanted to get on the agenda for the Select Board. The Recreation Commission has proclaimed July Parks and Recreation Month. It's an opportunity to honor our staff who work hard throughout the year, providing safe parks, providing programs for people of all ages and abilities, and just to recognize them for their efforts throughout the year. This year, the theme is Where You Belong. So everybody, throughout the country, there's something for them to do in Parks and Recreation. There's somewhere for them to belong, and that is Parks and Recreation. So we've just asked if the Select Board would also recognize July as Parks and Recreation Month, and I did share a proclamation. If you wanted to read that, that would be great. I have a copy if.
Good luck. Yes, Sarah.
I can go ahead and read.
Thank you.
Designation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Burlington Parks and Recreation. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Burlington, Massachusetts recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Burlington Recreation Commission and now the Burlington Select Board that July is recognized as Park and Recreation Month in the town of Burlington, Massachusetts.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
hear everything? Because she can repeat that.
Nope, I followed right along.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think Kelly should be up here with him too, because she's a big part of this.
Come on up, Kelly.
Come on, Kelly.
Breaking our agreement, but that's all right. You guys called her up, I didn't.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, to follow up on my earlier comments about town employees, our Recreation Department is under the leadership of these two. You look at our flyer, their brochure, you talk to the residents, look at Facebook pages. Our Recreation Department is incredible. The leaders, the employees, the programs, it's a lot different than when I worked there in the 70s. But you guys, that's why, Kelly, you had to come up, because you add so much to this, the whole town benefits by what you guys oversee. So absolutely going to support this proclamation.
Okay.
Done.
Brendan?
Well, I can't top that. I would have to say that we are very fortunate to have a dedicated group of employees and staff that make us, in our department, well-respected and look so good. You know, we are very fortunate for that. Not every department in every town supports recreation, parks and recreation like Burlington. We're very fortunate for that. And we thank you for your support and the kind words. Thank you. Definitely something that I think our staff will appreciate as well, to know that they were recognized by the Recreation Commission and the Select Board.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we've got that one all set. Now we're going to go to 153, which is the discussion for the recreation exercise class. So I think, Myrna, why don't you come up and...
We can sit right here.
Sit over there?
Yeah.
Do you want to sit on the side, Brendan, just because I know there's going to be questions for you?
Sure.
That way there, you can just not have a major discussion, but we'll get it through. Thank you for your patience, Myrna.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for your patience. Paula, thank you.
Do we have to sign in?
Yeah, please, yeah, sign in and just state who you are. Not that we don't know that.
Well, I'm going to say that former President Trump hadn't named his VP candidate, but I missed out on that one.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
All right. Bring that mic in a little bit closer and start you.
Yes, I hope everybody can hear. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. We had appeared before about I'll call it a lack of cooperation between Recreation Commission and the Council on Aging on space and time for the older adults who religiously participate in the excellent programs that were offered. And at that time, when I finished speaking, I asked if, the Select Board would consider coming up with a solution to this problem, which has existed now for 3 years. It's nothing new. And the almost tragedy that happened Saturday with, again, former President Trump made me think back to Harry S. Truman. That's one thing that you can do when you've lived many years, is recall your history. And there was a time then when there were some people who tried to get into the White House to attack him. I don't know how well that's addressed in history books, but that came rushing back to me the other day. So Harry Truman, I can tell you're all so impressed, had a sign on his desk that said, "The buck stops here." And because of the problem we're having, Recreation and COA and the participants, I look at this board as buck, 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 doe, and I'm going to call you Bambi, Mr. Sagarino. Okay?
We will be calling him that, too.
Okay, that's an endearment. But the point is that there hasn't been cooperation, and again, this summer, there's been turmoil about where the older adults can exercise with scheduling and priorities and sharing, and what I would refer to as a lack of good communication. But primarily, the message I want to put out right now, and not belabor my talking, is that the town administrator does not have the final say on these problems. Last year, 25 of us went before Recreation, and another 25 went before the Council on Aging to state our upset with how we were being tossed about. And each of those committees has the final say. Whatever their jurisprudence was. And so we didn't have the space and time that we needed. And it's happened again this summer. And that's why we came to you earlier, to see if there could be a resolution to this problem in some equitable manner. So I'll leave it at that.
Yes, go ahead, Paula. You going back as far as Harry Truman, too?
No, I'm not.
She's younger.
I'm sure you remember that we were here before.
Yes,
We had an
absolutely.
exuberant bunch of seniors with us. Yes, this has been an ongoing problem, but I have to say that last year, after we went to the Recreation Commission, and I don't want to repeat myself, but we met with Brendan and Kelly. We had some very productive meetings, and we really thought that things were moving along, which I think they were. This year has been fine. We were told at that time that summer would be more difficult because there are a lot of kids' programs. But I feel like there's an underlying, there's just more to this. And I'd like to bring you back to November of 2022. Well, first of all, there's 2 senior fitness classes. There's one with Sophie, who's in the Murray Kelly wing, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 11. And then there's Judy Lander's class that is supposed to be in the gym on Mondays and Wednesdays, same time, 10 to 11. We love Judy's class. She challenges us, she pushes us, and we wanted a Friday class. We went to Marge, the COA director, to ask her if that was possible, and she kept more than once, and she said no, that there were no funds. So we took it upon ourselves, and we wrote a letter to Michelle Schneider, from Leahy, who handles the allotment of the funds for places. It was individually signed by every member of the fitness class, and that letter was sent, copied, to the town administrator, the town treasurer, the COA director, and every member of the COA board. Not one person responded to that letter. Not one person had the common decency to show some respect for what we were asking. So I think that may give you an idea of how we feel when we are continually pushed around or never, see, well, to me, I mean, I know there's more to this than meets the eye, but it seems so simple that recreation could just block off Monday and Wednesday, 10 to 11, in the gym for the seniors. We're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for 2 hours a week. And I just don't understand why that can't be done. At the end of our discussion last week, you said that either you or Mr. Sagarino would be in touch. Well, Myrna was in touch with Mr. Sagarino, and basically said, all we want is a solution to this continuous problem. Mr. Sagarino answered, it's a great day for the Celtics, which it was. And he said, I just want to clarify that Recreation and the COA have long-standing agreements as to how they share the space in the building. This is true, we understand this, we know this. But we just feel that we're just being pushed under the rug, that we don't matter.
Okay, so I know you're not finished, but I'm going to stop you at that point for a second. I truly apologize for you feeling the way that you're just being pushed under the rug. The reason why I put Myrna and yourself on the agenda for tonight's meeting, because he had something on the agenda, and I wanted the whole board and you here to not to discuss what we're going to end up doing or how it's going to work out, but I wanted to hear the whole story of how it took place. And now that you've given me some insight from the seniors' point of view, that's Brendan's in Marge's building. That's not my building. That's not his building. They program everything in that place. I am not going to sit here and tell him how to program whatever he's got going on. So in defense to him, this is up to him to do whatever he can do and for Marge to do. So I know you're asking for 2 hours a week, which I don't think is a big deal, but I don't program everything they have in those gyms or the Murray Kelly wing. So at that point, I'm just going to stop right now. I've heard what both of you have to say, and trust me, I feel for you right now. I'm going to turn it over to Brendan and Marge right now and see if there's something that they can do to discuss maybe tomorrow or Thursday or whatever day it may be at the building itself. It's his building. It's theirs. It's theirs. It's not up to me to make that decision when you can go there and when you can't go there. And I don't believe it's up to the 5 of us either. I don't believe we can tell Brendan what to do with everybody else that's going in there. So that's where my issue lies. Yes.
So that was going to be part of the end of my discussion. Okay. That as town administrator, I know he doesn't have the say, but food for thought, I would like to put out to the board that you to maybe consider looking into getting a town manager who would have more authority that could quell any of these differences by ordering the departments to work out a solution, not just letting it go as is. And I'm only throwing this out as food for fodder, that this may be a committee that you in the near future would institute to see if there was a better way of running the town, because we've grown. We're not the farming community that the pigs so nicely make us remember. And we have bigger issues before us. And I realize this is a power thing, because the board makes a lot of the decisions. But we really need someone that we could go to that could take the rec department and the COA and bring them together and says, look, you have to solve this problem.
Well, that's what we're here for.
No.
Yes, yes. That's what we're here for. That's why this
I'll
is,
defer
that's
to
why this
that,
meeting is
and I'll
going on right
stop
now.
my promoting, but thank you. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
And that's kind of why, well, Myrna kind of suggested that we come to you because
Right.
that's
And I'm glad you
what you're
did.
here for.
No, I think we're all glad you did. I think
Yeah,
this is a
so-
great thing. I think that, Mr. Sagarino can, I don't think he can physically tell, the rec department when to book and when to not book. I don't think that's his call. I believe it's their call at the rec department. Am I correct?
Jim, we all work together on it.
Right.
So we are very blessed to have great programs and a lot of programs coming out of each department.
Yeah.
These two guys have had many disputes over timing and rooms over the years. that we've-
Disputes may be strong.
I wouldn't say that that's strong. Discussion's probably a better word, but, at the end of the day, they've come up with different agreements as to how they're going to share the building, and I think that they've worked really well together because there is quite a bit of demands for space. Over the past year or two, we opened up the Grandview Farm for more town programming from COA and Recreation to be able to use the Grandview during the day for more programming. And again, there's always going to be some glitches to make the schedule not perfect for everybody. So I do understand the position of our seniors here, but like I say, the two department heads are here, and if you have any questions for them as to how we might avoid this in the future.
So before I get into the rest of the board, Brendan, Marge, any comments, any thought process in your head right now that you would like to say something? Would you like to, I don't know where you want to go with this, but I don't know if you sat down with them and actually talked to them about their scheduling. I'm sure you have. I'm sure that you've tried to rearrange some other things for this. I don't know. I haven't been at those conversations or those meetings. So that's why the two of you are here tonight.
I will, unless you wanted to start, ladies before gentlemen.
No, go right ahead.
You like that, Myrna, right? All right. So we've had plenty of conversations, lots of conversations. Last year, our commission, heard the concerns of the group. We worked with Mr. Sagarino on timing in the Grandview Farm, the main hall there during the day. Our program staff does its best to fit all of the programs that they would like to run, that our residents would like to see and participate in, into 2 spaces in the 7 days a week. We're open 7 days a week. We have things going on. We understand that this specific exercise group likes the gym only on Monday and Wednesday. That those are the 2 time frames that we're looking at. We've done our very best to coordinate around that schedule as much as possible. Sometimes we have instructors whose schedules do not allow them to teach other times, and we have to utilize the gym in order to run the program. But I think really what we're talking about is 6 weeks in the summer, that the rest of the year we've done a really good job of moving around and looking for other spaces, whether we offer an exercise program or another program at the Grandview Farm during those times, or the Council on Aging offers one there, but we tried to accommodate. I think it came up this summer. We have a program that our function room downstairs, we have 2 rooms, function room and gym, that the function room is set up for a summer program for 6 weeks. We can't offer anything else in that room during the day. Thus, we have to move to the gym. Fortunately, I think that we moved one program down to the Grandview Farm, so we couldn't move a second program at the same time there. Fortunately, one of the programs was canceled, so we were able to move the other exercise program to the Grandview, and I believe they have their program there in the gym this summer on both Monday and Wednesday. I think it was printed incorrectly in the monthly schedule that the Council on Aging puts out. I'm not sure, the printer put the wrong dates, mixed it up what it was, but we had conversations before the summer to work out the timeframes. Unfortunately, one of the days we had to use the gym for the class, and as luck would have it, the program that competed with it that was down at the farm got canceled. We were able to move ours, and the Council on Aging fitness program could move up there. So there's constant communication. We do our best to avoid those timeframes. Our task is to offer programs for the residents of Burlington that they want to see, that we want to try in the community. Sometimes, and it really happens basically in the summer now, there's 6 weeks, a 6-week time frame where it could be a conflict.
Okay. Marge?
Thank you. This is not a new problem. It's been going on, honestly, as long as I've been working here, for 23 years. It happens every summer. The Grandview has actually made it easier than it was before. We do try very hard to keep that class going. Last year, I had actually found another place to have it, but the class did not want to go off-site. So we got into some trouble there. But Recreation was able to help us out. Yeah, I mean, we talk multiple times a week, trying to make sure that that the class is where they want to be, but it does not always work out. Again, we lose space in the summer. So the newsletter had the incorrect time because our newsletter, unfortunately, goes to the printer the first week of the month previous. So if we don't have all the information, we do the best we can with that. So in order to get the newsletter out in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'm going to go to the board to see what we have for questions or comments or whatever. So I'll start with Sarah.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I just want to acknowledge you all and thank you for coming and speaking up. I know it can't be always easy, and I understand you're frustrated. So it sounds like this is, a service that's been offered for many, many years, and a lot of our seniors utilize it, and it's important for your physical and mental well-being to keep going. And when it's, pushed, readjusted, rescheduled, that can have impacts. And, they're physical, they're mental, and they're also psychological. You're feeling like, disrespected maybe, or, unacknowledged. So I just want to put it out there and, say I have, the utmost respect for the senior community, and I can probably safely speak for Paul and Brendan and Marge that they share that sentiment. So I understand that that's our, but the impact is still there, and you're probably still feeling frustrated. So, I'm sorry for that, and I hope that we can all work together to find a resolution to this. I think from a select board perspective, this is, like Joe said, there's only so much that we can do with this specific issue, but it's indicative of bigger issues in town. One being space, obviously. We need more, and this is an ongoing conversation we're having as a board and administration, finding more space for everybody across town. And then the other one is, and Myrna alluded to this, but sort of just the oversight and management of our town. And the way our town is structured now, it is very siloed, and every department has their own puzzles, pieces to put together and fit together. And I know that, Brendan and Marge work great together, and we try to work together as departments, but these issues can come up, and we are growing as a town and a community, and, those conversations are happening, whether we need to restructure in a way that would, more efficiently and effectively meet the needs that are happening across town. So I think those are two issues that this very well, highlights very well that we need to work on as a board, ongoing and as an administration. So I appreciate you coming tonight and speaking up about this. And yeah, we're going to push forward and work on those things for our town.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a tough one. First, I want to apologize that no one got back to you on that email. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in life, is taking the time to write to someone.
It was
or
actually
someone.
a letter mailed to every individual.
Yeah, and at least you should have at least gotten an acknowledgement of receipt or something. This, and everyone's going to hate this, but I think this is a good problem to have. It's a byproduct of our own success as a town. So we have so many great programs. Recreation offers so many great things. Council on Aging, I know Marge does so many great things for everyone over there. And it's actually a good thing that we have this type of problem, that we're thriving and we have a lot of things going on. And it's tough to fit all the puzzle pieces. And I wish I had a good answer. I wish I had the explanation, but as Joe said, I don't know all the things that go on. I don't know all the things that Marge has going on, and I wish we could help more. I think getting everyone together in the same room is a good idea to talk about it, and just hopefully with some good communication, we can finally find an end to it. And I know we definitely realize we do have, as Sarah mentioned, a space crunch in town. Lastly, Myrna, to your point, I'm in full support of taking a look at charter review of the town, how we function. We're definitely very siloed, and if there were ways we could look at to be more efficient as a government and work together and make it more seamless, I would love that. In fact, the board is kind of looking into that, and we have started looking into that. Nothing concrete yet, but I will tell you it's something we are looking at and considering. So I'm definitely on the same page with you there, that we could offer, operate more efficiently as a government. And I think it's also a product of Burlington's success and how we've grown from, I guess, a pig farming community to where we are today and the great and vast growth that Burlington has. So again, we hear you and we empathize, and we're sorry that you're going through the trouble, and we know that you guys have tough jobs too, trying to balance every program and every group that you handle. So I know it's just a tough one, and I hope we can all work together to find some type of situation. And if I wish I had better words for it. We empathize and hear you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sitting here, Sarah quite literally said, I think, everything that I wanted to say. So I don't want to sit here and repeat myself or have you hear the same thing from all five of us in a row, offering, our sympathy, our empathy, and our understanding. I think that you coming here and us having this conversation, is indicative of us offering that. So I will say that I agree with what Mike and Sarah, and Joe as well, have said thus far this evening. I guess directing myself to a much more action-oriented point in the discussion and saying, well, what next? What now? I know that this has been going on for a long time, that Brendan, you, Marge, Paul, the seniors have been having a conversation for quite literally years. If at all, it would help to involve one or two of us into the discussion, to sit down and hear the full scoop, as it were, just so we can all understand what's on the table in terms of our options and what comes next. It's one thing for us to say we understand. It's another thing to take action. And I'm not trying to disregard any action to this point, because I know that I know all three of you well at this point. I know how much work and effort you put into your roles. So please don't take that as a sign of disrespect in any way. But if at all we can help by being involved in the process, I'm more than happy to do that. And see if we can't come to a resolution where everyone does net out happy. I will also say, though, that it's possible that won't be the case. That the way it's structured now may just be how it has to be until we get more space. I don't want to go and promise anything. I think that that's unfair to do. But I do want to be involved if I can help in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. just want to make sure I'm getting, painting the picture here. This is just 6 weeks out of the year, correct?
So we try our best, the other 3 seasons, fall, winter, and spring, to work around that space during those times. There has been times where we haven't been able to find other workarounds, no other space in the building, or we have competing programs of our own that utilize the Grandview Farm, the main hall there. And it's worked out because a class has canceled and we've been able to shift. So patience is part of it as well. Number of people in programs that might be competing for space, and the program that accepts more people into it might cancel, so we're able to move the class with smaller participation in it, smaller roster, into another space. You know, it's the Rubik's Cube that we're always fiddling with.
So
right? So
it works okay for 46 weeks, and then 6 weeks, it doesn't work out okay.
summers is the known time where
Okay.
it's going into it, you should know that both days probably aren't available.
Can either program that's offsetting, whatever program rec has is offsetting the COA's program, can either program be run either under covered awning with fans or temporary building for 6 weeks? In other words, we rented something for 6 weeks to that 6 week time? Oh,
Jim, I think the class is being run twice a week. It's just on one of those days, they move from the gym to the Grandview barn for the seniors. So they're still having a class. It's just a question of the location of the class at this point. So the 6 weeks during the summer, this particular summer, when the class moved from the gym across the parking lot to the Grandview barn. So that's what's at issue here. It's not the fact that the class isn't happening.
Yes.
It's the location.
Well, would that satisfy either program to have it run just outside the building in a covered area or build, I mean,
I don't think we'd want to put fitness people outside in the summer, even with tents. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a temporary building, I don't think we would find one large enough to be able to hold either of the classes that would operate.
I was just trying to think of a potential
Yeah.
solution that hasn't already been mentioned.
Yep.
May I say something? Just in relation to like finding another space kind of thing. Judy uses every single piece of equipment that is in that gym. I mean, obviously, not all at once, but she does so many different things. She uses everything. When we were going to have to go to the Grandview last summer, we were told that anything that we needed down would be brought down. That never happened. As far as, I think Brendan said that the class liked Monday and Wednesday, you have to consider the instructor as well. I mean, that is the time frame that she has. And I just want to pick up on something else. When Brendan's, and this isn't, I don't mean this personally, but when you said that if a class is canceled, oh, then we can fit the seniors in. That's the attitude that I'm talking about. If something's canceled, then yeah, we'll fit the seniors in. Sorry, but there are 9 yoga classes this summer. I think there are 9 yoga classes always. They're different days, different times, from sunrise to sunset. And we can't get 2 hours a week? I just don't get it.
Okay, so here's where I think we are. We're not going to get anywhere tonight. It's not going to be solved tonight. We're not going to sit down and say, you're going to have your class on Monday, and was it Monday and Wednesday at 10 o'clock, whatever time it is. So I think that Nick has offered his services. If you want to sit with Nick, the 4 of you get together and figure it out. I don't know what Nick is going to do, but he offered his services, so I'm throwing them to you guys. So I really don't know what this, it's up to them. I mean, it's in front of us, I get it. I feel terrible that, I don't know, he's in charge of it. Him and Marge, they run it. I mean, as a select board, I'm not going to start telling all the departments what they should do. This is what you need to do. I'm not going to be, as far as I go, there's 4 other people here that can all speak for themselves. This man runs the department, she runs the department. What works best for them may not work best for you. What works best for you may not work for them. This is where the communication and skill comes together. So you may not have Monday and Wednesday, maybe Tuesday and Thursday. He's telling me that it's the 6-week time frame. Paul just said that the classes are still happening, just not where you want them. You want them in that gym area. You want them over here. You want them there. You don't want it here. So this is what we're going with. This is not going to get resolved tonight. All the select board members have said their piece. I don't know what else to do for you. I really don't. I'm lost.
You're not lost, you heard us.
I did hear you. Oh, I heard you loud and clear. Absolutely. And I feel terrible that this is not something that we have control over.
Mr. Chairman? I would
Yes, sir.
just suggest that it doesn't appear that there's much that we can do for this summer, given that the classes were already scheduled.
Yeah.
But I know that Marge and Brendan will continue to work together to try to resolve it by next summer. So that those 6 weeks, when the program's been dislocated, we can try to make sure that we can put it in a location that's acceptable to the group.
Okay. You were heard. You were definitely heard tonight in the last meeting. We're definitely going to do whatever they can do to help you out. But like I said, it would be like me telling the DPW, this is what you got to do now, after them running the DPW for 20 years. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be reasonable about it. We all feel terrible but it's not our call. You were heard.
I'm just looking at a few of your bullets in your mission statement, one of which says to foster high standards of public service and effective cooperation among town employees.
Well, I think the high standard is there, and I think the cooperation is there. I think that's not fair at all to say to any of these people up here. I think there's cooperation. If that's what you're telling us right now, we do have cooperation, and we do have very high standards. And if I took offense to that, that's on me, but we do have high standards, and we do have cooperation. They've cooperated right along, in my opinion.
Okay.
If one of you think I'm wrong, just speak up and tell me. I'll be more than happy to listen.
On another note, Mr.
Okay.
Miranda, I just wanted to say that when we were at the meeting on June 10th, and there was the gentleman there talking about the electricity bill and all that.
Yes.
And you pointed out your concern for the senior citizens.
Yes.
And how they would be able to handle this. And I just want to tell you that I just wanted to jump up and cheer when you said that.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It is a concern. That's another concern I'm not even going to comment on that one. We'll let that one go. Yes, sir.
If I may, and Mr. Sagarino, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're forbidden from impacting the day-to-day operations of any department, if I'm not mistaken.
Listen, like I say, I just don't know that we could do a better job of scheduling the building that these two
No, I know,
folks have
but
been doing over the
I
years.
think it specifically says the select board can't intervene in day-to-day operations of.
It's not something the board would typically do. I'm just saying the possibility exists. If you said to move the program in there, we would have to move the program in there, but I just don't think that that would be a wise choice for the board to get involved in that level, given all the work that these two department heads put in to try to make a schedule that works for the most people as possible. I understand it's not working for our seniors on this particular class, but again, I think for the most part, the schedule works. We've said it all night. We got a ton of tremendous programs coming out of both departments, and we lack a lot of space. So we continue to try to provide more opportunities for the town to utilize space.
No, and it was just a follow-up to what the chairman said. There's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of things we can't do as well, as a select board.
Thank you. Okay, so that's where we are tonight. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Definitely put that on our radar. I think everybody's on. What's that? Oh,
It's not
I didn't
public.
know if you wanted to talk about this.
It's not a public.
Check, no,
Can't, public,
No, public,
it's not a public, it's not public, right? No,
it doesn't
okay.
have to be, I just.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Brendan,
Thank you.
Raj, thank you.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Okay, now, what was it? 157, secondhand dealer's license. Here we go. Thank you for your patience tonight.
Hi.
Hi, introduce
Mike?
yourself, sign up on the
Oh, okay.
to-go list.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Seiya Magori. Came from the Second Street USA Inc. So we apply for second-hand dealer license. We're gonna plan to open the store in the Barrington Mall. We are 800 stores in Japan and also 35 stores in the US and also 45 stores in the Asia. So we'd like to develop our store opening for the Massachusetts. The Barrington Mall store is the first opening store in here. So we'd like to plan to the 2 more stores in Massachusetts, excluded for the Barrington Mall store.
Okay. Mr. Sagarino, do you have anything for us?
Lynn tells me all the paperwork's in order,
It is?
so
Absolutely is. So we'll start off with a few questions from the board, and we'll go from there. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I missed, what type of store is it again?
Second-hand clothing store.
A secondhand clothing
Yeah.
store? Oh, okay.
We buy from the customer, the 100% item, then we're gonna sell it to the
there.
customer. Yeah.
Yeah, no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is at the mall?
Yeah, in the mall, yeah.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Sarah?
I don't have any questions.
Nothing? Okay. Jim?
yes, Mr. Chairman, what's the name of the store?
Second Street.
Okay, I just don't,
Second Street.
Second Street.
Second Street?
Yeah, 2ND.
because I don't see it on the
No.
application.
That's the application that was created way back when, and there's nowhere for the name of the store. So we're working on fixing it.
Okay, then. All right,
We have it on other paperwork.
all right. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So 75 Middlesex Turnpike is the Burlington Mall?
Yes, in the mall.
And they're allowing you to be open from 11 to 8? The mall?
I think that's the standard hours.
Usually,
Right?
oh
They're open
yeah,
till
I'm thinking
9.
about something else. Never mind. My bad. I'm thinking about something else, like, they usually tell you what your hours are. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, so being no questions and me making a big mistake, let's move on from there. Do I have anything from the board? Like approval?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the second-hand dealer license for 75 Middlesex Turnpike as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? 500. There you go. You're in.
Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just looks so weird to me. Oh, here we go, citizens' time. Is anybody in the room for citizens' time? I see nobody with their hand up.
Online.
Is there anybody online? Okay,
I just sent them.
there's one online. Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. I had my hand up when you had the 2 ladies from the, talking about the scheduling issue, and I was
Yeah,
not...
that wasn't a public hearing, so I don't let anybody speak on that.
Really?
Really?
Very interesting. I'll let that go for right now.
Okay, thank you.
But I wanted to speak to the issue that, I don't know if you've brought it up yet, I think it might be coming up about the town clerk. Has that come up yet tonight?
No.
Okay. So would I be able to speak to it when it does come up, or is that a no, too?
Discussion.
The chair's discretion.
What was,
The town clerk discussion.
yeah, you want to talk about the town clerk? Is that what you want to do?
I'm trying to get an answer to a question, which was, you just denied me the opportunity to speak on the issue on the seniors having their time to exercise.
Yes, I
So
did.
now I'm asking you, would I be able to speak when the issue comes up on your agenda regarding the issue of the town clerk, whether being appointed or running for office? Yes or no?
Is that?
Unless it's a public hearing.
If it's a public hearing?
Discretion
right.
of the chair.
If it's a public hearing, then yes, you will be able to speak. If it's not a public hearing, it's up to me to make that decision.
So you haven't made the decision yet?
Excuse me?
You haven't made the decision if it's going to be a public hearing yet? Is that what I heard you just say?
If it's not a public hearing, you will not be able to speak.
Okay. But you're not answering my question. Are you going to make it a public hearing, yes or no?
No, we are not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to make my comments right now.
Well, listen, I'm having a very hard time hearing you, so it sounds like
Well-
I'm trying to listen.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best, but I'll try to keep it brief. I want to alert the town. This is it's a bigger issue than people think. Why would the citizens ever give up their right to vote on an issue, on especially something of this caliber? It would be a very, very short-sighted idea to go with this. I've seen other towns, and I'll speak to it another time, where they've given up their rights, and it's come back to really bother them and hurt them. And as far as I'm concerned, the research that I've done so far, there has not been enough aggressive activity to find potentially another town clerk. I would never support giving up our rights. I don't see any of these committees in town or the select board volunteering to give up any of their power. But yet, there's a quick fix to say, let's have a town clerk now no longer be have to run for office. So that's my point right now. I'll make them some more later on, and I'll be very interested to see how this particular body conducts themselves and what their ultimate decision is. Be very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bob. Have a good night.
You too.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak that's online at Citizens Time? Seeing there's nobody, we're moving on. Thank you. Public hearing, grant of location. Is anybody here for that? "35 Chestnut."
Evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Thank you for your time hearing me. My name is Bob Block. I'm here with, on behalf of Verizon. It's a continuation for a wood pole, specifically a guy, to act as a guy pole for a existing utility pole that is leaning right now. So our solution, a few of our engineers looked at it, and our solution would be to install a guide pole across the street from it, because right now it's leaning away from the street. So we would put it in the grass area right next to the sidewalk. I have a photo here if you would like to see. And then just one guy cable, it's a steel cable, that will go from the existing pole over to the new pole, preventing the existing pole from potentially falling and failing. The guy wire height would be approximately around 25 feet minimum above the street, somewhere in the 25 to 29 foot range. So it should be a vehicle should be able to clear the street still with no issues, especially on this road as well. But yeah, that's really what we're looking to do here.
Okay. So before we get started on that, I am going to open the public hearing on this. No, not yet?
It's already been open, the public.
Oh, that's right, too, we did open it.
Closed.
Right.
We heard from the public at our last meeting.
Yep,
And I think
we
the
did.
board was going to have further discussions and then deliberate the matter at this meeting.
Okay. So at this time, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
It's already been.
Already been closed.
Oh, was
Did
it?
it the last time.
Okay. Gentlemen? Anybody want to start?
I'll start.
Nick?
Oh, Mike's volunteer. I don't mind.
I just have a couple, thank you, Mr. Chairman, a couple quick questions. So are you with Verizon?
I work for Network Building Consulting. We're a consultant of Verizon. We do design work and permitting for them.
Okay. Just a quick question. Are there any other solutions or alternatives to have other than putting in another pole with a guy wire? We're just trying to not look so messy, you know what I mean? And it's just, are there anything else we could do or they could offer that would be quote-unquote cleaner?
You know, one of the first solutions we look at is to replace the pole. But this pole is actually in very good condition. So when we find a pole that's in good condition and it's leaning like this, that is typically have to do with the ground, the earth, basically the soil, the strength of the soil. So if we were to put another pole in this location, we would expect the same thing to happen. So as far as another remedy, you'd almost have to modify the earth itself. And that would be a much larger project, you know, removing a lot of soil and then backfilling it with maybe some stronger soil, some stronger material, which would be a much larger project and would probably affect the area around it, the road, parking lots there, potentially sidewalks. So it could be a much larger project. And even in that case, we would, you know, we're engineers, so we can get anything to work. But I mean, the area that you would need to disturb is kind of the unknown right now, but it could be a pretty large area if you were to go that route.
Define disturb.
So basically the area that you would...
Dig a hole in, dig up?
Yeah, it wouldn't just be that area where the pole is. It could potentially go all the way across the street. It could potentially go into, you know, the parking lot that's there, neighboring roads too. That would need to be further investigated with some calculations and probably a geotech to see exactly what soil we do have there right now, and then design with some stronger material, basically. But that area of disturbance could potentially be pretty large.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pole's 25 feet tall?
The proposed pole?
No, the existing pole.
The existing is roughly about 40 feet.
40 feet.
Yeah, about 39.
And
40.
how much of it goes into the ground?
So for 40, it's actually a 45-foot pole. So there's about 6.5 feet. So it's actually about 38 feet 6 inches to the top of this pole right now, with 6 feet 6 inches buried.
Okay. So you're saying that to stabilize a 38.5-foot tall pole, you need to disturb a rough radius of
Buried, yeah.
25 feet?
That's the unknown. It all depends on what type of soil we have under there. Assumingly, the soil is pretty much the same in that area, you could have to backfill it a lot to get, you know, a stronger base, a stronger earth material. So if we're just replacing a little bit of it, that pole's probably still going to work.
And when you say stronger earth material, what are we talking about?
Something maybe more with some gravel in it, potentially, you know, crushed up stone, something that might create more of a foundation, you know, because you know, you could look at it also as encasing the base of the pole that's underground in concrete, but that with this being a wood pole, that won't work because that'll create your break point stresses or that would just increase them exponentially. So you want to have a little bit of wiggle room with these utility poles because of the wires and, with storms and wind and stuff you want. So if we plant it in place and don't allow it to move, then that pole's probably going to snap. So that's why you don't usually see utility poles with a concrete foundation. So the idea would be to try to make the dirt or the earth below it more of a solid type, concrete type of foundation. So like I said, maybe some crushed stone and other materials that are stronger, that would create a stronger earth.
Sure. And what's causing the leaning currently?
The wires right now. Just the way the wires are routed right now, they're coming down the street, but then there are some going off towards the building here, it looks like. So it's not like your typical utility pole line that just runs up and down the street. You have those lines as well, but then you have lines pulling it this way too. And those are the lines that are causing it. So our proposal is to counteract that, which would resolve it.
Right. Okay. So were you briefed in the last meeting that your associate was here at?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit, okay. So we've got a growing problem, and it's not just in Burlington, of things just kind of being Band-Aided, right? And the Band-Aids look gross after a while, right? Double poles, leaning poles, guy wires, extra poles holding guy wires, right? I mean, things that I'm sure you unfortunately have to deal with way more often than we do.
Yep.
Right? And we're tired of it, quite frankly. And I'm sure this is not a new thing for you either.
Sure.
So from my seat, it's really hard for me to be like, well, I get it, the pole is leaning and they want to support it. However, they're supporting it with a system that is now going to be coming across the street with an extra pole, right? And it's just going to, do its thing. And this is no disrespect to you whatsoever, so please understand this, right? You come in and you're like, and by the way, it's either this or we're going to dig up the whole area, right? And again, like I'm sure it's from an engineering perspective how it's supposed to be looked at, but again, from my seat, it just feels like fear-mongering, right? And that could be my lack of intelligence around the subject matter, so forgive me if that is the case. But I don't like it. And I'm really tired of the way that the aesthetic is being forced upon us. And it seems like with no other real means of, or mechanism of enforcement or control, we're left with either just letting you do whatever or saying no. So I'm kind of in the bucket as starting to say no to everything. I don't know if you have something from your seat as an expert in your field that can counter the way I feel about this to make me want to be like, yeah, fine, okay. But I'm inclined to be like, no. I'm inclined to be like, no about everything that comes in front of me from now on, regardless of how the rest of the board feels about it, because I'm just sick and tired of driving around my community and seeing everything look a little slapdash. So that's kind of where I'm at. Again, this is not, you're kind of, bearing the brunt of my wrath like your associate did last time in June. So I apologize, but that's all I have to say on the matter right now, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate your time.
Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nick, using your analogy of a Band-Aid, I get it. I don't like the idea of this adding more poles, but using the analogy of this being a Band-Aid, well, the surgery would be digging the pole out, putting a new pole in. And sometimes, in my opinion, you got to pick your battles, meaning I'm okay with a Band-Aid in this situation, only because it's not really a big residential area. It's one house. It's going to abut. Most of it's in a commercial area behind a building. And to do that surgery, to replace that pole requires, it's not a overnight or a day project, because they have to have, Comcast has to come and remove their equipment, and Verizon has to remove their equipment, and Eversource has to come and remove their equipment. All that has to be taken off. Then a new pole has to be set, the surgery, put it in the gravel, whatever it may be, and then Comcast has to come, not RCN, Astound has to come, Columbia has to stick out. It's a process, and that's why I'm okay with the Band-Aid in this situation, because that could cause a disruption to area businesses and residences to have all that delay and all that equipment being moved around. And so, again, I'm not a fan. I'd want to see the double poles gone, with starting to chip away at those. This is the one time I'd be okay with a Band-Aid as opposed to the full-blown surgery, only because of the impact it could have for the service that they're going to, the service providers in that area. So I'm okay with this one. Again, my opinion is I'm picking my battles on this one, and this one here I'm going to be okay with because of the potential disruption to the businesses and residents nearby. So that's-
May I?
Yes.
I think that we've made enough excuses, and we've said, oh, well, you know, it's a lot of work to do X, Y, and Z, and we keep doing that, and, you know, I mean, like you, I try and pick the hills I choose to fight, you know, the swords I choose to fall on, but again, I feel like, you know, we did it with the one over on, was it South Bedford or Bedford Street that we said no to?
South Bedford.
South Bedford, yeah. You know, I feel like, you know, the ask was, we don't like the guy wire. Can you come back in July with a proposed alternate? And the alternate is, well, we're gonna tear up the entire area for this one pole. And it's like,
okay.
You know, like, I get it, but I also feel like that's like the extreme option in this scenario. Again, it could be my lack of knowledge in the space, but I'm gonna take a stand personally and say that I would like to see improvements made. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of making excuses for corporations that, you know, quite frankly, get to do whatever they want. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sarah?
Thank you. So you said the reason that the existing pole is leaning is in part because of the weight of the wires, but also because of the integrity of the ground underneath it?
Correct.
Have you looked at the integrity of the ground where the new pole is going in?
The new pole, yes. The new pole with only the one guy cable attached to it would not have the same amount of forces on it, because it's the amount of cables, but also the direction they're going in, so the forces they're pulling. So yes, the new pole would not lean with that guy wire, because it's just be a lot less and a lot smaller than the existing pole too.
Okay. And then, what are the consequences if we say no?
I'm not sure I can answer that. I would bring it back to my client, which is Verizon, and you know, they would make that decision if they would want to pursue it next and how probably would want to pursue it. But unfortunately, I don't have that answer right now.
Do you, Paul?
They wouldn't be able to put the guide wire in, and I guess the consequence could be that the pole could come down.
Yeah.
I guess the question I would have, from an engineering standpoint, there's a lot of poles leaning in town, so how do you make a determination that this pole needs to be corrected, as opposed to there's even several on the street that are leaning in that way? So what makes this pole the one that Verizon feels as though they need to address, as opposed to other poles that may be leaning?
It's a good question, yes, because usually what initiates it is when they go to touch that pole for some reason, whether it's another attachment or, you know, in my industry, we do a lot of they call them small cell, the cellular antennas on top of the poles. So either that or a cable attachment, that's typically when, that's the common time when that would come up. Other than that, and I believe this is the case here, the owner of the pole, if they're doing audits on their poles, they would go out, identify it, and then they would make a plan to correct it, which I believe is the case in this. I believe Verizon owns this pole.
Thank you.
Yes.
Follow-up?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know who this would answer, but would the town be liable if we denied this and say the pole snapped or even someone got hurt because they got hit by the pole, or what are those are possibilities, right?
would say that that's a possibility. I'd say that we're liable for just about anything that happens in town, unfortunately.
Okay.
We can certainly run that through legal just to see what the actual rules are for, companies that are operating in the right of way. So absolutely, we can check into that.
And just out of curiosity's sake, you mentioned small cell. Has there been a change, like in the technology of small cell? Because we had a bunch of applications before, and we thought that was going to be big, but now it's kind of tailed off. Are they moving away from that, or can you tell us on what has happened there?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background, because I could probably go for hours. The point of the small cell itself is it's on highly populated areas to relieve capacity and not so much give a better signal. It's, they have the macro sites, which are their cell towers around, so when those get overloaded in a certain area, that's where they look to do small cells. So a lot of venues is a perfect place for it. We have a large crowd there. So it's a capacity issue. The industry is constantly changing. Now we're hearing that our clients, the main carriers, AT&T and Verizon, are going back towards those macro builds now in some rural areas. But then we're also revisiting the small cells sites that we have built and designed and built, and they're upgrading with new equipment. So currently in the industry, I think you will see more of them. They are very beneficial for those highly populated areas, but that's really the demand, is those populated areas.
Thank you.
The capacity, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have one question. If it gets approved, if the pole goes in, where does that guide wire go? How far into that neighbor's property does it go? Is
Sure.
it straight down? Is it 6 feet from the pole? Is it 11 feet from the pole?
It'll be parallel to the ground, so it'll be horizontal, so it'll go just from pole to pole and go
So
right.
the pole's going to be here, the pole's going to go from pole to pole. No guide wire going down into the ground for that other pole?
Correct.
At all? Nothing? Just a pole in the ground for that one resident?
I'm sorry, there will be a guy wire on the new pole. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah, the new
Will
pole.
there be one coming down off the pole itself?
Yes, on the other side, yep. Off the new.
On 2 Elmer Ave?
Yes, on the new pole.
On the new pole? So that person's going to end up with in his yard someplace?
It'll be, no, it won't, sometimes I do need to go that far, but no, this will be on the opposite side of their fence, so in the right of way still.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, I hate to, well, all right, at this point, are there any other questions from the board?
Well, if, I'm just going to toss it out there. If Mike's question to Paul, the liability, we want to wait and kick this can to August to get that answer, we don't have to do it right now.
Exactly right. That's where I was born. You should be over here. So, the suggestion he just made was wait to hear from Paul on the question that was asked, and we'll just table this till our next meeting, if the board is okay with that. So, we're just going to table this till the next meeting.
So you just want to continue it to
Continue
a
hearing.
date,
Yes.
date and time certain? So
Yeah,
August 12th?
When's our next meeting?
August 12th?
August 12th.
On or after 6 o'clock?
On or after 6 o'clock, exactly.
Does that have to be a motion, or?
Well,
Oh.
can I do a motion? That's a good question.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter to our next meeting on August 12th, on or after 6 PM.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
500. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, now we have a new public hearing. That's what I was messed up on. So the new public hearing, earth moving. Here they come. Ooh, whole team of them. If you could just sign the paperwork. And,
Sure. Good evening,
introduce
Mr.
yourself.
Chair and members of the board. For the record, Christine Hung, attorney at Reamer and Bronstein, representing the applicant FK Partners Burlington LLC. With me tonight, I have Kristen Labrie, our site civil engineer from Howard Stein Hudson. Behind me, Next to me, to the far left, I have Ben Finnegan, a principal of the applicant. We are before you tonight requesting an earth moving permit for the property located at 225 Middlesex Turnpike Extension. That is the site of the former Kent Cottage, which is of historical significance in Burlington. Just to give you a little bit of background and history of the
Before
site.
you do that, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Oh, sure.
All right? So the public hearing is now open. I don't need a motion to do that, okay? Either written or approved, the notice is written into the records, date, time, location, and purpose, okay? All right? Does anybody want to read that, or just as written?
I'll make a motion that we accept it as written.
Okay,
Second.
okay, there we go. Now we're all set.
Okay.
You need to vote on it?
Oh, yeah, we got to vote on it. I'm going way ahead of myself tonight. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you.
So just to give you a little bit of background on the site, it's the former Kent Cottage, which has historical significance in Burlington. It was built in the 1850s as an old English-style cottage. RCA purchased the property in the 1960s. They were a government testing facility, and they used the Kent Cottage for storage of their tanks. Norblum has owned it since 2007. As most people know, the Kent Cottage is in a state of disrepair. There's been fire, water damage. It's been unoccupied for a very long time. There have been attempts to try to redevelop the property, but the site is about 20 acres, but there are so many site constraints with a large conservation restriction. There are riverfront buffers and wetland resource areas, so that the actual upland portion of it is about an acre, which makes it hard to develop. Norblum at one point was looking to do some retail on the site, but because of the size of the site and parking, that was difficult. There was an office building that was permitted and went through planning, but then due to market conditions, it just never went through. In May 2021, there was a zoning amendment done that was approved at town meeting that allowed for the development of 9 residential units for sale with a $50,000 contribution to create affordable housing in Burlington. So the applicant has stepped up. They're proposing 9 for-sale units. We've been through the process. We have been before Historical Commission. We received an order of conditions from Concom. We received planning board approval, and so now this earth moving permit is really the final step so that we can move forward with the construction of it. The Kent Cottage will be developed into 2 units. There are 4 2 units, and then a single unit that adds up to the 9 units. We will be bringing soil to the site, not removing it. It's going to be about 37 cubic yards of soil that will be brought in pursuant to the Board of Health regulations. It can be tested, so we've agreed to the conditions of the Board of Health. We have erosion and sediment control procedures in place through our order, and really, we're just here before you requesting our earth moving permit, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Christine, my question is to do with the actual address. Kent Cottage is on the Middlesex Turnpike, but this is written in as the Turnpike Extension, which is behind.
Yeah, that is a way that the town assessors has that as the address. So what we're planning to do, even though it's on the Middlesex Turnpike, the building is on Middlesex Turnpike. So I've talked to Liz Bonventure, and what we're going to plan to do is do a change of address so that the address then, for fire, life safety, knows that not to go to the back, the extension portion, but to the front, to go to the Middlesex Turnpike, not the extension, which is the, behind.
So that change of address won't affect the permitting at all? will it?
No.
All right, that was my only question, because it's not on the extension, it's actually on the Turnpike, and it's says extension, and that's what, it's,
Yeah, and that's what the town assessor has it as, and, you know, the GIS, and it's assessed as extension. So it just has to be like basically a change of address that we can do through DPW.
all right, so just, it's, and I'll leave it at that. Just wanted to clarify.
But we are aware of that situation, and I have talked to Liz about it.
All right. All set.
All set?
Yes.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here tonight and for your patience. It's been a long one thus far. So right now, the proposal is that we're bringing in 3,700 cubic yards filled, yeah. And that is to level the property? Like, I just want to better understand. It's dipping in the middle? Is that kind of what's happening?
So if you look at the site, it depresses down, so it's going to raise the grade up.
Okay. Okay. I know that you spoke to Concom, but in terms of like watershed and runoff, like we're not going to be affecting the
Nope.
nearby area? Okay.
We have underground treatment proposed, and so everything's being captured and treated through infiltration chambers underneath the drive aisle portion, and everything else has been accounted for, pre and post has been reviewed and approved.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Sounds good to me. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question out of curiosity, Christine. What has been the delay with the project? I think I looked at this first site plan when I was on the planning board. That was almost 3 years ago. Have there been some delays or anything?
No, I mean, our team came to us, you know, a couple months ago, and we went right on it. I don't know if it was just really marketing or someone who wants to develop. There are a lot of site constraints, so it was an engineering feat that these guys did really well in terms of putting everything within the 1 acre, not affecting the buffer zone, the conservation restriction, the buffer areas, wetlands, riverfront. So really, it was just, you know, getting everyone's heads together to design a project that will work, that will be economically feasible, and we've come up with a good plan, we think.
I'm glad to see it moving forward. I'm glad we're preserving some, at least a piece of the old Kent Cottage. So I'm glad to see it move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sarah?
I don't have any questions. I was going to ask about Concom as well, but it looks like you've been through, you know, all the steps, historical Concom, Board of Health, who has a bunch of list of conditions to follow, planning. I don't have any other further questions. Excited to see this.
Thank you. Mr. Segarino?
Sure, just some of the things, this comes up, we get these very infrequently, earth-moving permits, but I think one of the concerns of the board and what this permit allows is for the Board of Health to get involved to make sure that we're not bringing in any contaminated soils. Mr. Tigas is absolutely right on the address, but it's a very large parcel, I believe, that actually extends over to the Middlesex Pike extension, but I think most of that area behind is wet. So it actually does have frontage on the Middlesex Turnpike extension, and that's how it's listed on the deed and in the records. And the other thing that the board historically over the years likes to look at on these is what is the trucking route for the trucks coming in and out of town, just to make sure if we're talking about a large amount of dirt, it means a lot of trucks. So typically, the board has wanted to weigh in on sort of what's the best route in and out of town for the dirt to come and go into town. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So one of my comments was the dirt. I was going to bring up the dirt. What route? I'd like to have the route down, so we know as a town and as a board, like, is it coming off of Route 3? Is it coming up Middlesex Turnpike? Is it coming, how you gonna, I know you're using a truck, but I mean, what's the route going to be for that soil to come in?
So we,
Okay,
do you
already got
want
it.
to answer this, or do you want me to?
So we included it in the submission package.
Oh, it was in the package?
So
Our submission package for this.
Okay, I missed it. That's my fault.
So they'd be coming from Bedford Street, Route 62 from the north, and then Lowell Street from the south, or Route 95 north or south. So it's kind of in a central location, so they'd be
Okay.
coming,
All right, as
depending
long
on
as
where
it's
the
there.
soil's coming from.
As long as it's there, I'm fine.
It's very short, because it is very close to 95 and 62, so there's no back road kind of
No.
route that it needs to take.
Well, the highway's right there, Route 3 is right
Right.
next to it, so it's
Yep.
pretty good. But that's my fault for missing it, I just didn't see it. in there. Okay, so I'm okay with this.
So are they coming off 90, we call it 128, but 95, or are you
Yeah.
coming off Route 3?
Depends where the soil ends up coming from. That final location hasn't been decided of where it'll be sourced from. So
Because if you're coming from 95, you're going all the way through town with it.
Well, they'd come off the Middlesex Turnpike and drive up that way.
yeah, it's
I mean,
very,
get off there
very
at the
short.
Burlington Mall.
Oh, right, all right.
Drive straight down that way, or they can go down Route 3 and get off at Route 3.
Right.
And we can always tell them that that's what they got to do, if you want, because it's a shorter run through town for us. It's
Right.
more of a highway run for them. I mean, if you want to make that a condition, I'm sure we could condition that in there if somebody wants to do that or not. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I'm not that, right up in 6 Turnpike, stuff like that.
Okay. Anybody else feel the same way, or? Just if it just goes down Route 3, it's 2 seconds, and we don't have to drive by the Burlington Mall and every place else. Just a thought. Nothing? Okay. All right, at that point, I believe we're pretty much there, so this is open, this is a public hearing, so anybody from the public, there's nobody out in the audience, and I do not see anybody's hands up on the screen for public hearing, so I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Chairman, make motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Public hearing is now closed, 500. And now I'll take a motion on the article itself.
I make a motion, we approve the earth moving permit for 225 Middlesex Turnpike extension.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I was a little late with my eye, sorry. Aye. Okay, 500, all in favor.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you, too. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, tonight was a good one.
Yeah, you're on the agenda.
All right. Okay, moving right along. We have the town clerk, elected, appointed, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, the only update I have for the board on that is the committee that the board appointed will be having their first meeting Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock here at the main hearing room. Hybrid meeting will be posted to the town calendar if anyone wants to join remotely. And we'll make some introductions and talk about the charge of the committee and what we'd like to get back from them at that time. So
Okay,
I don't know if
fantastic.
anyone else has anything to add, but those are the updates I have.
Has the agenda been posted yet?
This afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Anybody else? Nothing? Discussion, September town meeting warrant articles. Sir?
Mr. Chairman, I was able to update the board on this one. We're moving forward. We have updated at our meeting last week, but we will be attending the planning board for the opening of that zoning change on Thursday night. I believe they start a little bit early. That's actually a tri-board meeting with planning, ZBRC, and land use all in the room at once. So we'll have an opportunity to present the warrant article and the zoning change at that time. And I would love to have some
Be there.
board members if you're available that evening. That would
Be
be
there.
great. Thank you.
Yep.
Question on that. Paul, when will we have, hopefully before Thursday, the updated documentation that you mentioned Tom is working on?
They're working on it now. I'm not exactly sure we'll have it by Thursday. So
Okay.
we will have it prior to town meeting, well before town meeting, so.
Okay.
Everyone else all set? Okay. ISAC committee, appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Brown switched up the member from the police department, and he wishes to represent the department on that committee. So I would like to request a change to that. We recently voted that at the end of June, Lynn?
Yes.
Yep. So instead of Kevin Doherty, Chief Brown would like me to appoint, I wish to appoint Sage Costa as the police department representative on the ISAC committee, and request that the board waive its 15-day waiting period. We also, at our next meeting, we did have a resignation, unfortunately, on this department, so we'll have this on our agenda for August to fill that position as well. And the chief indicated we're not going to have alternates on this committee, but his representative, Officer Zarro, will fill in for Sage Costa when he's not available. So
Perfect.
just need a vote on that.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we appoint Sergeant Sage Costa to the ISAC committee.
Motion's made.
Second.
Second.
Sorry, are we also appointing Officer Tom Zara?
No, like I say, there's a lot of confusion as to whether alternates are legal, so that's
So he
just,
doesn't have to be formally appointed?
he does not have to be
He just
formally
fills in
appointed.
for
Sage Costa.
Sage when
And
he's
or
not there.
designate.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
I don't know if we can, because it's a voting seat, I don't know if we can do and designee, although tangentially to this, in the near future, we should discuss alternates and how we want to address it, because, I mean, it seems like in the last month and a half, we've had more alternate discussions than we've ever had before, and it may make sense for us just to, put it down on paper and figure it out.
Yeah, well, like I say, Amy would tell you that alternates are not allowed under Mass General Law, with the exception of the Zoning Board of Appeals. But again, I think we can have a discussion with legal on that.
Yeah.
Discuss the benefits of having them, not having them. But in this case, I'm going to abide by Amy's rules, and we'll just appoint the actual member. And then Officer Zarro can always sit in and participate in the meetings in Officer Costa's absence, and he just won't be able to vote.
Right. So my motion still stands.
Okay. So a motion's been made and seconded. You're all set now? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, against? 500. Okay. Approval, year-end transfers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to the meeting, John.
Just got here. Somebody woke up. So in one of the final acts of FY24, we are required to close all of our accounts without any deficits. And several years ago, in their wisdom, the legislature approved the Municipal Modernization Act, which allowed cities and towns to go 15 days into the next fiscal year to approve a transfer to do that. So what you see in your backup is a little bit more than a handful of accounts with that total up to $66,000. It's important to note that this isn't we didn't overspend the budget at all. These were just some accounts that we didn't nail down the budget perfectly. And as you'll see in the reasoning, most of it is within the salary lines, and almost all of them have to do with someone that is retiring and getting either the transitional advisor or retired and got some buyout that forced the budget to go over. And you'll see also that all of those, just about all of those departments were able to cover it within their budget, just in a different line. So just a point of reference, this $66,000 in very few accounts here is about 0.04 of 1% of the whole budget. So we did pretty good. But like I said, this is a requirement that we have to do. We went to Ways and Means last week. I got their approval. That was the change in Chapter 44, 33B that allowed us to do this, that it was the Finance Committee of a town and the Select Board to approve it. So that's what we're here to do, to help us close the books for 2024. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the FY24 year-end transfers? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion we approve the year-end transfers as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain? I also vote aye, 4-0. Now we're on to subcommittee reports?
Nope.
No? I messed up. First.
Almost. Jump with the gun.
I'm just trying to get out of here, I think. Mr. Chairman? Take over.
165 TH renewal, tried renewal. Who's that? Oh, over there. I was looking at it.
Chairman. So for many years, the town will have presented this to the Select Board, and what this motion does is allow me to act in place of the Select Board in the event that time does not allow for a meeting. So I can basically sign something on behalf of the board and then bring it to the board at the subsequent meeting for approval. And again, we've tried to approve this at least once a year, so we have it relatively recent in the records in case it ever comes up. We haven't I had to do that, but in the event of an emergency, if you're willing to approve that motion, again, it's something that we've done, tried to do annually, so that we have it in the select board meeting minutes on an annual basis, so we don't have to go look too far to find it in the event that we need to use it.
Right, we've done this. So, any questions on this from anybody?
Just a comment, if I may. I think that this is a continuation of our responsibility to consider whatever government review needs to be done. And to the discussion earlier about whether or not the role that Paul currently inhabits as town administrator should be altered in any way. And how, I guess the power structure, the breakdown of silos could possibly be looked at. I think that it's important that we do this to ensure that timely action is taken on critical things. But I think that, in fairness to this board, we're dealing with a lot right now heading into September town meeting, and we've talked a lot about government review the last couple of years. And I know that we're itching to continue that conversation, but I think that this is another bell just to say, like, hey, don't forget, after September, we should be continuing that conversation. That's all.
So on that note, would I take a motion for this, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion. I'll read it as presented. Pursuant to Section 2416 of the Town of Burlington General Bylaws, the Select Board hereby authorize the Town Administrator to take any action as he deems necessary to fulfill the duties of the Town Administrator in preservation of health, welfare of the citizens of the Town of Burlington, to preserve the status quo or negotiating position of the town if an emergency the Select Board cannot meet, the Town Administrator may act. The Town Administrator shall bring any such action to the attention of the Board at the next available meeting for the Board to consider and/or affirm the action of the Town Administrator.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's start with the subcommittee reports. Nick, you had the big one this week or this month, so why don't you talk about your parade?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Otherwise, I don't have anything else to talk about, but...
That's unusual.
I know, isn't it? Yeah. Mark the date and time, please. The 4th of July parade obviously happened on the 4th. I want to thank this board for participating, as we have in years past. I want to thank the support of Town Meeting and Ways and Means, who, see the parade as an awesome community event. I want to thank all the participants and the committee members. It was oddly beautiful weather. It was a great day. Everyone always comes together and puts on a great event, and it's always nice to have everyone involved. I think, as I expound up here on this day, as quite often as we joke, that we talk about the problem with volunteers and the need to drive it toward, a more tight-knit community, and how do we do that? And the parade brings out so many people of all different walks of life to do one very simple thing, and that's to have a great friggin' time for a couple hours on the morning of the 4th. And so just, my heart goes to everyone who's involved, and I want to thank you profusely for all the time, effort, energy you put into the parade. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sculpture Park is in the process of swapping out sculptures. I'll have a full report on that. We're actually installing some new ones this week. So I want to make sure they're all done before I give an update on that. But to follow up with Nick, fantastic job. It was a great, again, every time I go to that parade, I feel like I'm 7 years old again in Burlington, But thank you, Nick, thank you, the committee, and thank all the participants, but I really want to thank the residents, because I drove through that route 2 hours after the parade, and it was immaculate. It was spotless. It was like you couldn't even tell a parade happened. So thank you to the residents for coming out, and also for keeping it clean and to the point where you didn't even realize a parade took place. But that's about it.
Thank you. Sarah?
I have nothing in terms of subcommittee, but I do just want to also reiterate my thanks to the July 4th Parade Committee and all the work they do, because I know it's a lot. And to everybody who participated and to the residents who came out and cheered us on, it was a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything for subcommittee. I just want to give everyone a reminder in this oppressive heat and humidity, just a reminder to check on your neighbors or the elderly or anyone that you think may need a helping hand in this weather. Look out for each other and let each other borrow air conditioners or check on pets, animals. It's just really brutal out there, and I think we're going to get some relief, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, so hopefully it'll cool down a little bit, but just wanted to share that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Stay hydrated.
Well, I don't have any reports, but I am going to reiterate what everyone else said. It's like, hey, great job. You did a really good job on the parade. I had a lot of fun this year. I think you taught me this year with walking ahead of me. You were a lot louder than I've ever been, I think, but you got a bigger voice than me. I thought the kids did a great job pulling the cart with our sign on it, throwing out those lollipops. Your son has quite the arm. I told you that earlier tonight, and I was really surprised that we didn't have to pull a cart. They were great about that. They really were great.
They were great.
So I think everything worked out great, and Mr. Sagarino, anything for you from a report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let the folks at home know that the town will be operating cooling centers again at 61 Center Street. So for some reason, if somebody's missing air conditioning during the next few days, just come up to the building and the library, and you can hang out till normal business hours. And thank you very much to the Volunteer Reserve Corps of the Board of Health who staffs this for us. So very thankful to them.
Fantastic. That's all you have. Mr. Denizio, any reports from you on the, nothing? You got nothing for us? Lynn, do I even ask? All right. Any
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, 005. We're in.